Alright, I am really hoping that this video ends up not being as long as the last one, but honestly at this point, who knows? That took me like 4 to 6 hours to edit, and that was kind of just the introduction into Train Sim World 4, you guys. We have road maps now. They published, I think it was like a 3-hour and 45-minute long roadmap stream. I did finally finish it last night. And there was so much that I wanted to say, so many things that I wanted to comment on, and if I think of any of those points during either this video or the next video as I cover these roadmap blogs, of course, I will be sure to bring the points up. I originally wasn't going to cover this content, but I was seeing some comments from you guys asking me to, so here we are.
Well, what a day yesterday was. Train Sim World 4, with a whole slew of new content, improvements, and features, hits on Tuesday, September 26, 2023. Or, for those who want to get in as soon as possible, you can join our early access starting from Thursday, September 21st with a pre-order of Train Sim World 4 Deluxe or Special Editions. In case you missed our Dovetail Direct Train Sim World keynote, you can watch the whole thing in all its glory below.
Alright, so that confirms, in case you didn't know, if you want to get the early access for Train Sim World 4, you need to pre-order the Deluxe or Special Editions. If you pre-order the Standard Edition, you are not going to get the game those 5 days early, just so you know in case you weren't aware. Alright, so a quick summary of absolutely everything that was announced.
Vorarlberg, Lindau, Bludenz, our first Austrian route, and first border crossing, featuring the BB 4024 Talent 1. Antelope Line, Los Angeles, Lancaster challenging canyon terrain meets the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles with the unique F-125 locomotive, with Rotom cars. East Coast Main Line, Peterborough, Doncaster, the perfect racetrack for the high-speed LNR Azuma and rail tours to stretch its legs. Flying Scotsman, Deluxe and Special Editions only, the world's most famous steam locomotive takes a centenary rail tour on ECML. Railpool BR-193 Vectron, Deluxe and Special Editions only, coming to Nahverkehr Dresden, which will be upgraded to TSW4 feature set. The computer on wheels will be a great addition to German railfans' collections. Scenario Planner 2.0 chained paths, custom start times and weathers, portal support for AI trains, new UI, and more. Livery Designer 2.0 undo/redo, text entry, new fonts, toggling AI livery usage, 1000 layer limit, and more. Photo mode, pause the game to take the perfect screenshots, with adjustable camera settings, filters, and enhancements, to populate your in-game gallery. Creators Club improvements filter by content you own, and a new UI. New scoring system rewarding experienced drivers for driving well, and with safety systems enabled, with all new Platinum Metal tier. Ease of access improvements, locomotive difficulty tiering, improved player assists, simpler HUD, plus new mini HUD, automatic coupling, class 323 in 8F in training center, and improved key mapping. Improved overhead line rendering. New rain on windscreen effects. Haptics for controllers, feel vibrations for key moments, and use the PlayStation DualSense controller's light bar and controller audio for signals and safety systems respectively. Volumetric fog improves the depth of the graphics. Free roam mode, spawn trains anywhere at any time, set paths where you like, use custom formations. The world is your sandbox to use your whole collection as you choose in a single session. The PC editor, beta, access our version of the Unreal Engine 4 toolset, the same tools our teams use. Create gameplay, trains, even your own routes.
It's a lot of stuff, and in my opinion, a lot of things on the smaller side that I truly believe should have been patched into Train Sim World 3 as a free update. Of course, not including the 3 brand new routes, but I will say the more I learn about some of these things, the more excited I'm becoming for them, especially after hearing Matt and JD talk about free roam mode and the PC editor on the roadmap live stream. Also, they talked a little bit about volumetric fog and about how, if I remember correctly, that's just not for Train Sim World 4 routes. Of course, if you upgrade to Train Sim World 4, all of your Train Sim World 3 routes that have TOD 4 lighting will also have the volumetric fog as well because it requires the TOD 4 lighting. But you're not going to get that playing your Train Sim World 3 routes in Train Sim World 3. You need to play your Train Sim World 3 routes in Train Sim World 4, which is exactly what I expect. And I think that's why so many people are kind of just like feeling meh about this whole thing. And I can completely understand why, because again, you have to pay for these new routes to get the updates to the older routes. Another example, and they even talked about it on the stream, and I have a whole video on this, New York to Trenton, Northeast Corridor. They're giving us the timetable update on release day for a Train Sim World 3 route in Train Sim World 4. But those that will want to continue to play their Train Sim World 3 games and not upgrade to Train Sim World 4, they're going to have to wait longer for an update to their Train Sim World 3 route. Do you see what I mean? It's little things like that. Like, yes, you're getting the good deals with the Train Sim World 4 route bundles, but a lot of these things that are updates to previous routes and previous games, they're giving you an incentive to either have early, or with some of them, you don't get them at all unless you're on the new game, you know? So I can definitely see both sides to this. They showed the rain on windscreen effects. I'm sure we are going to see a video clip of that either sometime during this roadmap live stream or maybe even in the part 2, because there are multiple parts and they touched on pretty much every single thing here. So there's gonna be a lot of talking.
Well, prepare yourself for the longest roadmap ever written, currently sat at 15,000 plus words. With so much it in, we had to split it into 2 parts. Today's and tomorrow's roadmaps will cover all of the above in a little more detail, checking in with the teams who have made them to drill into what makes them special. We'll be talking about the routes and locos as well as the OHLE, suspension, and rain windscreen graphical improvements today, as well as talking about some of the things we know you'll have questions about. Here's our new Train Sim World 4 roadmap, detailing what you can expect from us over the coming months. Please note, this is for all new content. We provide an update on other projects further down in the roadmap. You can find out more on our shiny new webpage, including details on pre-order, discounts, and frequently asked questions.
All right, so here is a look at the actual roadmap, and they pretty much go over as much of this as they possibly can. And I say that because you see here things that are labeled US route, UK route, Germany route, especially the stuff that is on here a lot farther down. They're obviously not going to be able to talk about those things because they're routes and new content that they have planned that they have not announced, but they just want to put it on there to let us know that's the general timeline of what we can expect and when we can expect it. But they pretty much just talked about all of the stuff here at launch. There are some things that they do have listed in the 4 to 6 or 6 months plus that they do touch on, the editor version 0.2, editor version 0.3. So they've made it very clear that they are going to be putting out updates and they're going to be watching feedback very closely on the editor. During the stream, they mentioned asset packs, but they said they didn't make any because they want to see what players are going to use and do first before they make anything. And actually, I 100% agree with that. I would rather them not waste their time and energy making a bunch of stuff and release it with the editor and then no one ends up using it. I'd rather the editor just come out and they watch the forums, watch the feedback and see what players want, what players need, what players wish for, and then, you know, make decisions from there. So there are a lot of streams coming up, guys. Lots of stuff that is scheduled to occur within the next 30 days. I don't know what I'm doing in terms of streams on my other channel and with other games. I usually watch the streams live, have my face cam on and constantly pause and talk and give my commentary because that's literally what I do on this channel. So if you guys want to see me do that, like when they go live to do previews and stuff, to also record a video or go live and react and discuss and comment and add to whatever they're showing, I can do that. that, or if you just want me to wait till after, I can do that as well. But my reactions for a lot of these things are going to be pretty interesting. I already know, especially the Antelope Valley line, which is one of the routes I'm most excited for, and completely forgetting for a second, but the PC Editor Showcase, I am going to be foaming at the mouth for that because obviously that is something that I have been wanting for so long.
Railfan TV schedule. Alongside our roadmap and future articles, we will of course be showcasing all Train Sim World 4 has to offer Viaduct our live streams. Here are some dates to mark down in your calendars before the game's release on September 26th. All streams will start at 1800 hours Universal Time Coordinated and be available on our YouTube and Twitch channels. Live streaming schedule. August 24th, the TSW4 Roadmap, Matt and JD. August 29th, Intro to TSW4 Features, Matt and JD.
So that is tomorrow, the Intro to TS4 Features. So if you guys want me to do a reaction discussion to that, I'm more than happy to. I don't know what I'm going to be doing yet. I wanted to do it for the roadmap, but I just was not caught up with things. And also that roadmap stream was 3 hours and 45 minutes. That was just way too long. And I don't think there are going to be any more streams for a while that are that long, but also I don't want to say never because you never know.
JD. August 31st, Vorarlberg Preview, Matt, Lucas and Alex. September 5th, PC Editor Showcase, Matt, Will K and Alex. September 7th, Antelope Valley Line Preview, Matt and Jamie. September 12th, Creative Tools Previews, Matt, Kat and Alex. September 14th, Dresden and Vectron Preview, Matt and Jan. September 18th, Free Roam Mode Preview, Matt, Lucas and JD. September 20th, ECML and Scotsman Preview, Matt, Jamie and Joe. September 25th, Train Sim World 4 Summary Stream, Alex and Ben.
There is so much planned. They have a packed schedule, and honestly, I'm very happy and excited for it. I do want to say Free Roam Mode preview stream. At first, I was kind of talking a lot of shit about free roam, I'm not gonna lie. And that's just because it's not my personal thing. And I was like, okay, so we just have Quick Drive and Train Sim World, kind of like Quick Drive and Train Sim Classic. No, it's not like Quick Drive at all. I believe in Quick Drive on Train Sim Classic, there is AI traffic, but it is not to a real timetable schedule. Like there's just not much going on, but there is stuff that is going on. But learning more about this last night, at least for me, because I watched the stream last night, I finished watching it last night, like the whole 3 hours and 45 minutes. I was blown away what they were saying about free roam, and I don't know if they're going to talk more about it in this, so I'm just going to touch on it a little bit now, but they were basically saying that you could either go into free roam, the game mode, and everything's empty, you put a train down, you set a path, and all the signals line green up until the very end. That's where you get your yellow, then you get your red stop signal, and then that's it. Or you can go into service mode, spawn in on foot, and while all the trains and services are moving around you doing their own thing, following the timetable, you can then spawn trains down on tracks, given that there is most likely not another train in your current signal block. Down, set the path, and it's going to integrate into the actual timetable, and the dispatcher is going to handle your request along with all of the other requests it's getting from the trains that are already in timetable mode. So you aren't changing the timetable, you're just adding to it, and the AI dispatcher is going to be making changes and adjustments based off of what you're doing. Now, I have a few questions with this. If you decided to get out of your train and abandon it, is it just going to sit there and mess up the timetable, or is it going to just start moving on its own as an AI and head to a portal or something, or get off of the main line so that it's not blocking up the rest of the timetable? And also another question that I have that they never really touched on was, is there a priority system for this dispatcher? For example, if I am on a line of express trains and I put a very slow moving freight train down, let's say on the Northeast Corridor, am I going to be waiting at signals and waiting at sidings for these express trains to pass, or am I going to be making express trains late because I put my train down? Like, is there a priority system? How does it work? Does it look at express passenger? Does it look at stopping passenger, express freight, standard freight? Is it something like that, kind of like the priority system that we currently have in Train Sim Classic when you're creating scenarios? Or is it just basically going on what's currently on that track? You know, first come, first serve, basically. lots of questions in that department. All right, guys, on to some of the graphics and artwork.
Train Sim World 4. Let's take a moment to take in these beautiful key arts made by our wonderful creative team. Train Sim World arrives in Austria.
Yes, I decided to speed up the voice a little bit. It's just reading a little bit too slow, and we don't have a million hours to get through all of this. The artwork looks great, okay? I'm gonna say it. The artwork looks great. The renders are great. The visuals are great. The creative team usually does a good job with stuff. I am normally never one to complain about that, and even with the screenshots, I will give 10s where 10s are due, and I feel like 10s are due here, okay? I will say it, I do like the logo, I like where they went with it. I will say it looks very similar to the 3 in terms of the colors, but I can see why they decided to keep that general like aesthetic. But I think the logo itself and the way it's designed definitely looks better than 3. But I will say, I hope we don't go to Train Sim World 5 so soon. I hope at least if we're getting 4 so soon now, we stick with 4 for at least like 3 to 5 years. Let's not go to Train Sim World 5 this year, please, okay? All right, so we have some more news on the Austria to Germany route. This one crosses borders, 44 miles, 70 kilometers. A little on the shorter side, but also this one does have 28 train station stops. So you're going to still get some long services with this, I'm pretty sure. And also seeing how windy and curvy it is, likely through mountains, you're gonna have lower speed limits. So I'm thinking we're looking at longer runs here, even though the general track and distance of this isn't too long. But it'll still be fun to jump into this, even if you're not a fan of European trains. The scenery on this, at least from some of the screenshots we've seen, and we've got some new ones to look at in this blog, absolutely breathtaking.
Vorarlberg, Lindau, Bludenz. Train Sim World arrives in Austria. Here to talk all about Vorarlberg and why we're excited to bring in a new country is Lucas Klimzik, our senior technical producer. For those unfamiliar with the route, why should players be excited? LK, it's a new country. We're going into Austria, and that means stunning vistas, new trains, and new operators. It's also a border crossing route, so one end is in Germany and the other is in Austria, so you'll see infrastructure and other scenery change as you cross the border. What challenges come with creating content for a new country? New countries are much more of a challenge because it's important to capture what makes them unique. This can be the obvious things like different trains and signals to less obvious things like the types of track clips and sleepers used, the types of foliage, and the architecture of buildings. Operating practices might be different to what's come before, and it's important to not let yourself get fooled into thinking similar things are similar. Everything must be checked and understood. The team spent a lot of time trying to understand the railways of a country just as well as the rail fans would, what's important to them, and what really makes the railway and landscape represent that country.
Okay, I gotta slow this thing back down. I don't know what happened, but now it's reading way too fast. I can't even follow along. New operator, new country in Train Sim World, new screenshots. They look beautiful. I cannot wait to see more of the volumetric fog, which we will see in this article, I believe. And you can even see some changes to the overhead catenary. It looks a lot thicker and it's not starting to disappear. That's normally what it would do. And actually it would start kind of vanishing halfway through the screen. I don't know what they did to it, but I think they made the wires thicker. Also, the grass looks really lush. Like, it looks more lush than it usually does. So this route is going to be a lot of fun to play. I already know.
Country. What would a normal run look like on the route from end to end? Starting at Lindau, you're in Germany on a beautiful little island. As you progress off the island, you'll turn sharply and shortly make the crossing over to Austria, which is extremely understated, as in reality. There's simply a bridge, and you'll see Germany overhead catenary poles one side and Austrian on the other. Continuing the journey, you will reach Riedenburg, where the track forks. At this point you can head towards Switzerland along the branch line, though only as far as Lustenau, where the span ends, and not actually into Switzerland.
That's really cool.
Continuing on the main line, the track is now on a gradient and you're running alongside some breathtaking mountainscapes on one side until Feldkirch, when the journey takes a hard turn up into the mountains for the ascent to Bludenz. Driving the BB 4024 Talent 1 train is straightforward, but you'll have a lot to keep an eye out for with around 30 stations along that journey.
I want to say, is this an update to the PIS? because this looks a lot different than the one I'm used to seeing. I don't know, is this an update or am I just seeing things? I don't know if they mentioned that. I can't remember if they mentioned that at all, but I guess we'll find out in this, right? Maybe?
Journey. What has been the most challenging part of developing the route? We felt that one of the most important things to get right on this route was the landscape with the stunning mountains around you. Going to an area like Austria and not doing justice to the views would be a waste. We've been using LiDAR, light detection and ranging data for the landscapes of routes now for a year or so, but a lot of the detail in that super high definition terrain just gets lost to the distance and you can't really see it as well as you would hope. The key area of development for the team has been an intelligent landscape material which is responsible for the colors used on the ground that reacts to the data present in LiDAR terrain and can be much more precise and detailed in its rendition of that landscape via the textures and colors shown. This means that all the detail, shape and form of the landscape is visible from a long distance away and beautifully captures the stunning vistas of Austria.
I was about to say, because I'm like thinking back to Sand Patch Grade and how the trees looked on the mountains or hills, whatever you want to call them, and it was just not good. I feel like the mountains on a lot of the earlier routes that had mountainous terrain looked absolutely atrocious. Hot, utter garbage. But this looks really, really good. Like the trees all the way up there in the back, really good. Really sharp and crisp and lush. The only thing that starts to look weird is when things become snow covered. I feel like the snow still looks weird in this game, and I touched on that in either the last video or the video before that. Weird, but okay. Definitely could use the biggest improvements, but like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it just looks more lush. It just looks more green too. I really like the colors.
Austria. Are there any particular points of interest for players to keep an eye out for? The island at Lindau is a particularly beautiful start to your journey, and while it's understated, in reality the border crossing is a notable feature as well. Beyond that, take in the mountains and several areas where the railway is really close to some awesome high detail terrain courtesy of the LiDAR and new landscape material. The route is beautiful to look at from start to finish. Another key feature of the route that we've implemented is neutral sections in the overhead wiring, where your train will momentarily lose power and then get it back again on the other side. Learn to navigate these. It's easy, particularly in modern trains, but something interesting to observe as you drive along the line.
These are great additions to the gameplay. Neutral sections exist on a lot of routes, and usually you just kind of have to pretend like they're there. You know, when you're playing your train sim, you make the changes you need to make if you need to make any at all when coming into contact with these neutral sections, but this is actually implemented into the game, so that's really cool. I'm pretty sure this was implemented into either another route from the past or a couple other routes, but I'm not entirely sure.
What unique features can players look forward to? This is our first Austrian route, so while the trains are quite similar to their German counterparts, the signals are a little different. It's relatable, so if you're familiar with German signals it won't take you long to pick up the differences, but it's an interesting system, and just like the German system, it fully supports allowing drivers to drive without needing to learn the route as much as say a UK route might.
These screenshots are so good. I don't know if they're using the depth of field adjustments, because they talked about photo mode, there's a depth of field adjustment. They went on about that on the actual live stream for quite a bit, and I have to say it looks freaking cool, and I feel like I can kind of see it here. A lot of what's in the distance there, those hills and the water, look pretty blurred out, but that sign in the foreground is not. So maybe they used the editor for that. I don't know if these were professionally edited like in Photoshop or something, but these screenshots look amazing. So amazing.
For gameplay, in addition to the Talent 1 train, we've also included the DBBR 185.2 to support freight traffic, and there's even some gameplay for the rail pool Vectron as well. What is your favorite part of the route? For me, it's anywhere I can see those mountains. It's a key difference from any other route in Train Sim World, and a joy to see with all the detail and distant scenery that is present. Even better in those moments when it's really close up and you can see that detail really holding up to close viewing. Describe the route in 3 words. Stunning. The views will take your breath away. Busy. Lots to do with a range of traffic, including some interesting layers from other packs as well. Different. It's not not like any of the routes we've done before.
Okay, I'm really excited for this actually. Initially and still, I would probably put it at the bottom of what I'm most excited for with Train Sim World 4, but definitely more excited for this than I was initially. It's clearly going to be a sight for sore eyes, and also playing around with a new signaling system and having a new operator in game for a new country, I think it's going to be lots of fun. All right, on to what I am most excited for, at least the most exciting route. To me, I still have some questions. I still have some doubts, of course, but we have the Antelope line. This is LA to Lancaster, 76.5 miles. This thing's long. This thing is very, very long. And I hear there are not many services, but I hear that they were split up into two because they're so long. So you probably drive halfway, the service ends, and then you can continue the other half. There are 13 train stations. You're going to get the F-125 locomotive with Rotom cars. From LA City to the canyons of northern LA County. This is gonna be fun. All right, let's see what they have to say about this one.
Peninsula Corridor meets Cajon Pass in our new West Coast US route, featuring Metrolink for the first time. Here to add a little bit of Hollywood razzmatazz is Craig Fowler, our senior artist. For those unfamiliar with the route, why should players be excited? CF Antelope Valley takes players on a journey through America's sunny state with some of the most unique stations ever featured in Train Sim World. From the bustling commuter hub of LA Union, the Wild West-themed Vincent Grade, Acton, to the pastel artwork of Santa Clarita. Connected through a breathtaking path through the deserts, mountains, and lush plains of California. There truly is no other route that feels as special.
Okay, I am really excited for this. This looks amazing. You can even see the cones of light coming off from the headlights. Something we've never seen in Train Sim World before, and that is because of the volumetric fog. Even though it's not too foggy, it's just a little hazy. This shot looks beautiful. It looks perfect. God, the sunrises and sunsets are absolutely going to blow me away. I think the sunrises in particular, especially if you have just a little bit of fog or just a little bit of haze out there. Oh my gosh, I am going to be absolutely blown away when I see this for myself in game, and just seeing these screenshots is just getting me so excited.
What would a normal run look like on the route from end to end? A normal run would see the players working their way through the built-up areas before slowly edging their way into the mountains. With each passing station, the player takes another step towards leaving the busy city life behind and venturing out into the rugged landscape, crawling through the valley until finally reaching the bustle of the city once again.
I like the dynamics of that, going from city to nothing and then back to city. Changing landscape, that's something that's like a requirement for me with routes. I cannot do a route, whether it's slow or fast, where the landscape does not change at all. It absolutely bores me to death. And even though I'm hearing, in reality, in real life, this route doesn't have that many services, there's still going to be freight and the landscape is going to be ever changing. I think this is going to be one of the good ones. This is probably going to have to sit up there for me with Peninsula Corridor. I don't know if it really snows in the California desert, but like in my mind, I'm just imagining this shot here completely covered in snow. It would be so beautiful, but that's probably not something you'd see unless you're in the mountains of California, honestly.
Again, what has been the most challenging part of developing the route? The hardest part for us is always doing the natural world justice in replicating these stunning locations. With Antelope Valley, we have gone to great lengths to ensure that our 3D meshes, foliage, and landscape materials capture the essence of the location.
Again, I think the screens look really good. I don't know if they're using the editor, but there's a lot of depth of field blur occurring. The shadows, at least between those two tracks, look really good, really sharp, and really long, even all the way out to the distance. Whereas I feel like before, with a lot of the default settings, at least on PC, I was not a fan of the shadows. I feel like they were very rough and jagged and fuzzy, and especially when you look off into the distance, the shadows just get more fuzzy. But I don't know, it looks better. The shadows look better here, and in my game, I've adjusted those things because I have INI file tweaks that make the shadows higher quality, things that you can't adjust with the in-game settings. But things look really good here. I think that's the long shadow of a tree that's going right behind that green building there, and that looks like really sharp to me. I'm like hyper analyzing these photos, but I want to get an idea of exactly how much things are going to be changing and hopefully improving moving from Train Sim World 3 to Train Sim World 4 in terms of graphics and just overall quality.
What have Metrolink been like to work with? Metrolink are great partners to work with. We have engaged in many conversations and shared resources to ensure the branding is represented accurately. Are there any particular points of interest for players to keep an eye out for? The Los Angeles River is an iconic spot featured in many Hollywood classics. Players might recognize the setting of many a car chase in the dried-up concrete basin. Or if they're feeling adventurous, the valleys are open for the player to explore. Strange sightings have been reported over the years that led some to believe there is more going on than meets the eye.
They also mentioned scenario moments too, and how there's like music involved in them now, particularly on one of the scenarios, I believe called Blockbuster for this route. So there's some changes going on there. I cannot wait to see what this is like because it just sounds like it's going to be a much different experience. Like music and stuff playing during scenarios? What
unique features can players look forward to? Among the unique stations and breathtaking views, Antelope Valley features brand new foliage and landscape materials that make it feel like no other route in Train Sim World.
I would hope so. We don't want to see recycled stuff for every route, people. Come on now. I would hope we would be getting new landscape materials with every new route and location that is explored. So, I mean, that's good to hear, but that's something that I would consider being like a bare minimum thing, you know?
What is your favorite part of the route? It's hard to pick a specific location because the whole route really is superb. However, rolling into Vincent Grade Acton as the sun is setting is a hard one to beat. Describe the route in 3 words. Conquered, lush, desert.
The road looks a little weird here. I don't know, it's just not very smooth. But going back to what I said earlier about shadows, the environment and the shadows look good. Things just look really like sharp though in terms of models and such. I don't know, maybe I'm just being a little too critical.
Thank you, Craig. Now let's turn up the speed.
All right. We're going to last but not least. I'm actually very excited for this because this route is all about speed. This one is 80 miles, 128 kilometers. We have 5 train stations. This one is going to be zoom.com. I am actually probably almost more excited for this than Antelope Valley, and watch me end up liking this the best out of all of them. And I say that because I was not looking forward to Southeastern High Speed and the extension that they brought for that at all. And then when that came out, that consumed my life for a very long time. Southeastern High Speed, particularly the extended version, had a chokehold on me for several months, must I say. The UK's longest end-to-end route features only flat crossing left on the UK network and a wide variety in timetable, lots of stopping patterns with additional layers for those who own Class 700/158. What routes do those even come with? See, I am not a UK kind of guy, so I don't even know what that even looks like, but it's probably something I own that I'm assuming. I am so excited for this actually. So when they say features only flat crossing left on the UK network, are they talking about this here on the picture where the tracks cross each other? I think that's really cool. I don't know if they meant railroad crossing by that, but assuming that they show a crossing of tracks here, I'm assuming that's what they mean by flat crossing. How fast can these things go? Do these things go super fast? All right, I'm just gonna shut up. We're just gonna read this, guys. Let's do it. Some of these pictures are new, but also some of them I think we have seen a couple of times before.
The British racetrack route is here. Raise your pantographs and Azuma your way across the East Coast Main Line. We promised not to use that pun anymore, but oh well. James Lewis, our marketing coordinator and avid train enthusiast, has more. For those unfamiliar with the route, why should players be excited? JL, it doesn't get more modern than this. Being in a state-of-the-art high-speed train and rapidly getting up to speed is a thrill and offers its own unique challenges. I always like the feeling of, I am in charge of managing hundreds of tons, hundreds of people, at 125 miles per hour, and this is no European line with fancy TVM or LZB as a guiding hand. There's a station in the middle of nowhere and you need to know know when to stop for it.
Oh, and we're gonna talk about that more because on the stream, they were talking about the minimal HUD and how I basically think they are removing like the distance countdown to the next stop. Like it'll tell you when you need to be there, what time it is now, but then you have like that little barbershop bar. You know what I'm talking about? That thing that moves. And Matt was saying like when you get a certain distance away from the station, that starts to change color and I think it starts flowing down as you get closer. And I like that because you need to be looking out the windows of your train and paying attention to where you are, where you're going. That way you can figure out when you need to stop. I feel like for the longest time, I myself have learned to stop for stations or slow down for signals based on a distance countdown number. Like if I'm going 125 miles per hour, for example, in my ACS 64 in the Northeast Corridor, normally what I do in my head is I wait until I am 1.25 miles away and I throw the brakes in a suppression, and I usually end up coming up to the end of the platform when the station is first starting, going about 30 miles an hour, and then from there, I'm usually in either minimum reduction or I'm like 20 to 30% on the brake up until I make my stop, hopefully within 15 feet of the stopping marker. But things are gonna be a little bit different now, especially if you're gonna be using the minimal HUD because you won't have those distant countdown markers. You're going to have a linear line showing the speed limits coming towards you. And I like that because that's something that I have been wanting for so freaking long. And I didn't think they would ever bring it. So I know for a fact that I am definitely going to be using the minimal HUD. I just hope they talk more about that in this roadmap stream. And if they don't talk about it in this roadmap, I know they will definitely talk about it in the part 2, which of course I will cover. You guys don't have to worry about that. Matt also talked about this during the stream, and I absolutely hate how if you have speed limit reductions, let's say in 2 miles, you're going from 125 to 75, it's going to show the 75, but then right after you could be going to 15 and you don't know you're going to 15 right after because it's only showing one speed limit reduction, which is the next one. So you pass that 70 or 75 and then it says, oh, you're going to 15 in a couple of seconds. How in the hell are you going to get down to that 15? You're not. You're going to be speeding. But now because of the linear line, you're going to see that 15 right after the 75. So you'll know to be slowing down for the 15 instead of the 75. These are the types of changes and improvements that I absolutely love. And I'm so happy we're finally seeing. Yes, again, it sucks we're getting them in the addition of a new game, but honestly at this point it is what it is. I'm not gonna sit on here and complain about it. Yeah, it disappointed me, but there's nothing that we can do about it, you know?
What would a normal run look like on the route from end to end? There are several service patterns which run along this section of the ECML. A longer distance express may run non-stop between the endpoints, letting you get to speed and stay there, but other services will call at the intermediate stations, offering a nice variety. And if you're in something which can't do 125 miles per hour, like a rail tour with a particular locomotive, expect to pull over into the several passing loops and let LNR services overtake.
This is another thing I'm excited for. I love routes that have these things. You're on a high-speed line, but you're not a high-speed train. There are going to be times where you have to pull to the side and let the other trains pass, and I like being in both trains and seeing this happen. It's fun to have to pull off and wait at a red, but it's also fun to fly by past these trains that are waiting at 125 miles an hour. Long distance express running non-stop between endpoints, that's nice, but I do like some of the other ones that do stop at these intermediate stops. So lots of variety for what you can expect with these services, which kind of reminds me of New York to Trenton in a way, because some of the Amtrak services make plenty of stops on that route. You know, Newark Penn, Newark Airport, Metro Park, sometimes even Princeton Junction, but some just go from New York to Newark and straight down to Trenton. And in real life, some don't even stop at Trenton at all, go straight to Philadelphia, but we don't have that in Trains and World, and I would love one day to see them extend that down to Philadelphia. Please make that happen. I just hope they would, you know, be able to secure a SEPTA license, but we're not gonna talk about that. This video is not about that. I do wanna talk about this screenshot for a second though. Beautiful, oh my gosh. The lighting, the depth of field, volumetric skies, absolutely breathtaking shot.
What has been the most challenging part of developing the route? My experience in this arena comes from talking to various people throughout the studio, but as can often be the case, finding the most up-to-date reference is a common challenge, especially on a route such as this, where most cab rides are either from 20 years ago or time-lapsed. There are also many details to consider on routes like this with big intercity stations, lots of stopping markers, waiting points, and shops, and with complex stations comes lots of junctions, demanding detailed OHLE throughout. It's quite the sight to behold. What have LNR been like to work with? LNR have been very forthcoming and assisted us greatly, providing branding designs and livery details to exactly recreate on our Azuma model. Along with Hitachi, we were also able to access a Class 801 directly in the depot for lots of photo taking and audio recording. A big thanks to everyone involved, including our licensing team.
So if they got their own Class 801 directly in the depot, that means there's no excuses for audio recordings now, okay? They better be good. I say that because sometimes the audio samples that we get are not the best.
Are there any particular points of interest for players to keep an eye out for? I would say so, and be on the ball because most things will race by pretty quickly. Lots of detail has been crammed into the route. We have opened shops on stations, authentic OHLE gantries, the famed Mallard sign on Stoke Bank, as well of course as bigger areas such as Doncaster Works, the Hitachi Depot, lots of bridges, and some quite interesting level crossings.
I'm not a UK player yet once again, so I don't know what half of these things mean, but for those of you that are, hopefully these are good things and hopefully you guys are excited. I'm 100% gonna be getting into this. I feel like this will probably overtake Southeastern High Speed as my favorite. I have a feeling. When I say favorite, I mean favorite UK route. I love London Commuter, don't get me wrong, but I just hate the fact that it's not TOD 4. I hate that it's still a Train Sim World 2 route. They need to update the lighting in the skies, give us the volumetric fog, and of course, fix a lot of the bugs and signaling issues. Then maybe it might compete with one of my favorites, but until they do those things, I don't think it is. I love how busy it is though. There's so much traffic. There's always something going at any time, something passing you. Most of the time I play it, I'm usually following behind some sort of service, not necessarily chasing reds, but chasing yellows, and it is a lot of fun. This is the shot that I am obsessed with. You can kind of see in the light haze, I wouldn't say fog, the God rays coming through the trees, which I don't think we've seen before because we haven't had the volumetric fog until now with these Train Sim World 4 routes and improvements. But what I am excited about is the fact that the volumetric fog is coming to Train Sim World 3 routes in Train Sim World 4 as well, which I did bring up at the beginning of the video, and you can even see the overhead catenary does look a lot better. I would like to see this in video form to see if there's any flickering, but things look a lot better in this picture. Look at the little bit of reflection there on the rails, the shadows coming through. Oh, this just looks so good.
Crossings. What unique features can players look forward to? If you want to talk unique, then I must mention Newark Flat Crossing. Being the last remaining of its kind on the national network, flat crossings are where rails cross over each other without being a junction. It's like a level crossing, but both bits are for trains. Just north of Newark Northgate Station, the ECML crosses with the line between Nottingham and Lincoln. So for Midland Main Line owners, in between LNR racing north and south, you can spot 158s heading east and west. Another unique feature is attributed to the ECML's history with speed. Back in the British Rail days, across Stoke Bank between Peterborough and Grantham, the line was upgraded with a 5-aspect signaling system, adding flashing green before green itself. The intent was to permit high-speed running, giving the driver enough time to safely stop for a red up ahead. Ultimately, the test never went anywhere, but the signals remain to this day and can unofficially support running at 140 miles per hour, the record being 161.
Okay, so now what I want to know is, in game, will we actually be permitted to drive that? Like, if we go 140, will we be penalized? Is the maximum authorized speed up that high, or is it only up to 125? That's really interesting with the signals, and I believe Matt actually touched on this quite a bit during the roadmap stream. So that's cool that that is actually implemented in the game. At least I believe so. I'm pretty sure he mentioned that the flashing green was in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong though.
161. What is your favorite part of the route? For me, it has to be Peterborough Station. It's something of a spotting haven. Not only do you have stopping LNR traffic and freight trundling by, but Azumas will also fly through on the down fast and through platform 3 as per reality, as several LNR services run non-stop between London and York. Let's also not forget the appearance of Thameslink terminating throughout the day and East Midlands traffic. Who knows, you might even see a rail tour. Describe the route in 3 words. Speed, stylish, cool.
I love this shot here. You can even see the rain effect on the windows a little bit. Oh, that looks so good. That looks so good. All right, on to the Flying Scotsman. We're gonna learn some more about that. 100 years this thing has been around. You could take it on a world tour using Scenario Planner, has its own support coach and rake of MK2 coaches in maroon livery, and it was the first steam locomotive to officially reach 100 miles per hour. Can you do the same? Oh, I will definitely be doing the same on many different routes. So we've already seen some of these screenshots, but we do have some new ones thrown in here as well. So let's learn more about this iconic loco.
Celebrating 100 years of being, well, a legend of the railways. The Flying Scotsman comes to Train Sim World as part of TSW4's Deluxe Edition. Getting us all a little hot under the collar is our community manager Jamie and senior audio designer Adam. Have we managed to source authentic audio? Adam, yes. We hired out the Flying Scotsman for 2 days on the East Lancs Railway to get photos and audio recording. How excited are we to bring Scotsman to Train Sim World in its centenary year?
I'm excited to hear the audio for this one. I really am. Gosh, it's gonna be, I'm like stretching right now. It's gonna be so hard for me to wait for these streams because I just wanna see everything and react to everything. And you know, on second thought, I think I am just gonna react to the streams and stuff because I'm so excited. I am so excited.
Jamie, very excited to bring one of the most famous locomotives in the world into Train Sim World and during its century is just great. Something I have always wanted to see in game as a LNR fan myself. Is the locomotive in its original or preserved state, and what does that mean for the player? The loco is in preserved condition as it currently from the 2016 and 2022 overhauls. BR Brunswick Green in A3 condition with corridor tender, smoke deflectors, and modern safety systems. This means you can run the loco on all the UK modern routes for rail tours in free roam or Scenario Planner, but can also run it on the WSR and also BR era routes for the livery it is in. What is it like to drive? It is brilliant to drive, really get the sense of speed and power with the engine, and gives you the chance to drive the world famous machine.
This is really random. Is this who Gordon from Thomas the Tank Engine was inspired by? Because I'm definitely seeing it. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know why that's the first place that my mind went. Here's a look at the crossing that I was talking about earlier though. This is really neat.
What has been the most challenging part of the locomotive to build? Scotsman is the biggest steam locomotive so far we have brought into the game, and I think one of the more challenging areas is getting the finer details and style right, as Scotsman has had so many variations over the years in liveries, boilers and tenders. Are there any particularly exciting scenarios? Yes, there is. Have you ever wanted to go and try for Flying Scotsman's record-breaking run? Well, now we challenge you to get to 100 miles per hour, just as she did back in 1934. Scotsman is currently on its tour to celebrate its 100th year. How can players join in the fun? With Scenario Planner and free roam, you can take Flying Scotsman round the world to celebrate her centenary, and even recreate runs she has done during her lifetime on the rails. Also share screenshots and videos with us on our channels on how you are celebrating the centenary.
Love the screenshots, love the lighting and reflections here. This one definitely looks edited because I don't think the sky is normally this light of a blue in game. So I think they have probably made some editing and adjustments. Very excited for this scenario though, for the 100 mile per hour run. That's gonna be loads of fun.
Describe Scotsman in 3 words. Fast, famous, fantastic.
All right, onto the Railpool Vectron, which is coming with the deluxe and special editions, I believe. It's in the Railpool livery, obviously, as you can see.
In the worst kept secret in TSW history, the computer on wheels is coming to deluxe edition, too. We know you're excited. And so is Lucas again with a little more information about an iconic German locomotive. Tell us a little bit about what makes the Vectron special. Lucas, the Vectron is an ultra-modern powerhouse of a freight locomotive. It's got a unique look to it, and that just all makes it really fun to drive. What is it like to drive? You've a lot of power at your command with the Vectron, so it's responsive and capable. It's also a mobile computer with lots of functionality implemented on the screens as per the prototype as well.
God, this thing looks so cool and it's modeled so well, at least to me, okay?
What kind of operations can players expect in driving the locomotive? This locomotive is primarily used for freight in this form, so you'll be using it to haul freight on both the Vorarlberg and Dresden routes. However, we have included a wide range of fun formations for Scenario Planner and Free Roam that include using the IC coaches from the BR101 pack to let you use it in a passenger configuration as well. What has been the most challenging part of the locomotive to build?
Here's another look, except this time from inside the cab of the volumetric fog with the God rays. Oh my gosh, that is literally the perfect shot. Look at the God rays coming past that catenary pole right where the sun is. So good. Like, you can really feel the haze with that.
There are extensive computer screens implemented on this, along with a very detailed representation of the physics of the train. Capturing all of that effectively has been a challenge and required multiple trips back to the prototype courtesy of Railpool and Locomotion to allow us to really capture the audio and the feel of this train well. Are there any operational quirks you need to keep an eye on? Take the time to explore the computer screens. The Vectron is the multi-system version and has the capability to run in both Austria and Germany. Your headlights are set up on the screens too. There really is a ton of stuff to find there. You can cut out traction motors to save power as well, just as per the real locomotive.
Wow, there's a lot of functionality with this, so I can see why this is so sought after. I'm assuming this was highly requested. When they first announced this, I remember the live chat going absolutely berserk, but in a good way.
Have we managed to source authentic audio? With thanks to Railpool and Locomotion, we were able to get access to their Vectron locomotives on 2 occasions, capturing both static and running sounds, including running at speed on the main line. There's also a particularly exquisite horn on this as well. Are there any particularly exciting scenarios? We added an extra scenario for the Vectron to run on Vorarlberg in addition to making it work in timetable mode, a really awesome combination having this loco on that stunning route.
Those mountains look amazing. Look, you can see the moon peeking through there at the very bottom of the mountain, but wow, this looks really good, guys. Really good.
What upgrades will Novaker Dresden receive to support the release of the Vectron? The biggest part of the upgrade is that the Dresden route is getting the new skies and lighting from TOD4, as introduced in Train Sim World 3, something players have been asking for on as many routes as possible since we introduced it. Describe the Vectron in 3 words. Modern, one of the most modern trains in the game at this point. Powerful, lots of power to command. Detailed, a lot of highly detailed facets and nuances to the recreation of this locomotive to discover.
All right, so one of their partners, Just Trains, I believe is working on a route as well. They share a little bit more about this here.
Blackpool Preston Ormskirk, Just Trains. Caption: Pleasure Beach Theme Park dominates the line side as this Class 142 Pacer bounces away from Blackpool South. They've teased, taunted, and given us a veritable roller coaster of clues. But we're delighted to announce that Just Trains' first Train Sim World route will be Blackpool Preston Ormskirk. The team at Just Trains are excited to announce the route we've been working on for the last 18 months is Blackpool Preston Ormskirk. This covers 47 miles, spanning from Ormskirk in the south to Blackpool and Burnnaes in the north, with Preston as the bustling center for this detailed and immersive 1980s route. The route has a total of 19 stations with 16 in service and 3 disused.
Wow, so we're going back in time for this one. 1980s route, 47 miles, a little on the shorter side, but it does have 19 stations. We've seen some of these pictures before, but I believe they have thrown some new ones in here as well.
Here are some of the details of the new route, and some all-new first shots of the route from the team at Just Trains. Caption: A Class 40 whisks along the embankment between Singleton and Wheaton in a lucky patch of sun, covering a turn usually worked by a DMU. Caption: A Class 31 stands in Preston Station on a murky evening whilst working a returning ballast train from Kirkham Civil Engineers sidings. It would reverse in Preston Station to access Ladywell sidings. Caption: This shows the freight-only Burnnaes branch at the north, both Blackpool North and Blackpool South stations to the west, Preston on the west coast main line in east, and Ormskirk in the south where it meets the top end of the Merseyrail track coming from Liverpool.
It's an interesting route layout, actually. This will be tons of fun.
Liverpool. Caption: With the mist closing in on a cold November evening, a Class 47 restarts a northbound freight away from a brief stop at Preston. Caption: A derelict seen as the forlorn signal box at St. Annis is passed by a Class 142 pacer bound for Ormskirk. Preston Station is the focus and is located on the West Coast Main Line. The station in our era features 6 through and 2 bay platforms. No matter what time of day or night you visit, you'll always find action here, with passenger, freight and parcel services all making regular visits. Departing Preston heading north, our route leaves the West Coast Main Line at Filda Junction and turns west, bound for the seaside. Have your buckets and spades at the ready.
I like the details with this. There was another picture, it was this one here. Like, look at the details on this shot in particular. The random cones and piles of dirt and debris. Some of the holes on the roof. It just looks more like weathered and used and realistic to how it would be in real life. You know, I feel like so many routes are just so perfect and polished. It doesn't really have that like used realistic feel, whether it be the trains or the routes or the ground or whatever, but this has that feel and I like that.
Following a swift run through the little used station of Salwick, you will soon find yourself at Kirkham and Wesham, an interesting island platform, quickly followed by a civil engineer's yard and Kirkham Tip, both locations producing interesting services on the route. At Kirkham North Junction the line splits. Our route features both the winding, single-track line to Blackpool South as well as the much busier main line to Blackpool North. We'll share more details on the unique personas of both these lines in due course, but needless to say they both offer a very different experience. Caption: the 8 platforms of Blackpool North are busy throughout the day, with this scene showing a DMU special waiting to return holidaymakers home to West Yorkshire, whilst a Class 47 Hull train has just arrived in Platform 1. To the right there is a Class 08 shunter which is used on pilot duties at various points throughout the day. Jumping back to Preston, we can catch a train for the 15-mile journey to Ormskirk, leaving the West Coast Main Line at Farrington Curve Junction. This single-track line provides a different experience to the other parts of our route, running almost entirely through charming rural countryside, broken only by the stops at Croston, Rufford and Burscough Junction stations before arriving at Ormskirk, where the British Rail line meets the electrified Merseyrail network. Fortunately, the tracks are not physically joined together. Caption: Street Annis Station in a terrible state of repair during the demolition of its extensive station buildings.
I love that. I love that. They've captured that here. Oh, that's so good. I love the detail of that here. Also love the fact that it's taking place in the 1980s as well. So, you know, a little different from a lot of the modern routes.
Caption: Preston Station, North End, with the grand entrance to the right accessed from the road bridge. Platform 7 is visible on the left, at this time only used by freight trains. Driving our British Railways provincial liveried Class 142 pacer, a full-length run from Ormskirk to Blackpool South will give you a very atmospheric 60-minute drive through a constantly changing landscape as you head through the city of Preston and onwards to the Filda coast. On top of all this, we've also added the 3-mile line from Polton-le-Filda to Burn-Naze, a freight-only branch that will allow for yet more variety within this ever-changing route. Please note, screenshots may include content from other add-ons via layers or substitution. Caption: Blackpool North and its concrete concourse. Passengers make their way towards their trains, taking them away from Blackpool and the Filda.
I really like these screenshots. Just Trains have posted an in-development article for Blackpool to Preston on their own site with new screenshots too. Should we check that out really quickly? You know what? We've got some new screenshots. Let's do it. I won't read the article, but I'll take a peek at some of these screens here. This route actually seems quite exciting, even if it's on the slower side, which I don't know if it is or not. The scenery for this, especially because it's set in the past, is different, so that's exciting. And I think that's why I enjoyed Spirit of Steam so much. It was so different from everything that had come out up until that point and even around that point. So is this gonna be sold separately, or is this part of the deluxe edition? Is this part of the special edition? I have a lot of questions with that, honestly. I feel like they're not talking about this one as much as they're talking about the 3 main routes, and I can see why. This is one created by one of their partners. But I also noticed on the roadmap, they had mentioned that there were additional routes with the special edition, but I was under the impression that those were like old previous Train Sim World 3 routes, but is this considered one of those routes as well? See, I'm not sure, but this looks amazing. These shots, oh my gosh. The shadows coming through the buildings, oh my gosh. And I'm just thinking of like all the possibilities too of like what the community is going to make on PC with the editor with all of this. Like what are they going to just change around and add on to what's already here? It's, oh my gosh, guys, it's going to be something else. All right, guys, we're on to some other things here to wrap up part 1. So we've gotten through the routes and the trains, and we're now on to some of the other things. These are the things that I was talking about previously that I would consider to be the free patch changes. These should have all been free patches into Train Sim World 3, okay? But here we are, starting with the overhead line rendering that has now been improved.
Improved overhead line rendering. We've been giving our overhead lines some love in Train Sim World 4, increasing their visibility within the game. Here's our technical artist Paul Klingberg. How have we improved the rendering? We have detailed overhead wires modeled at a very high accuracy. Unfortunately, one could not really see them as they are so thin that they seem to disappear after a very short distance and created a lot of flickering. We improved this visibility without making them unrealistically thick so players can actually see their complexity with much less flickering on the lines.
Yeah, look at the difference. You can see towards the distance on the new OHLE, it does start to flicker out, but it's definitely not happening almost instantly like it does here, where literally right in front of you, it's starting to, flicker out and disappear. So definitely a big improvement, and they don't even like look much thicker either. So I think they found a good balance of improving it without making it look unrealistic or anything,
Please note, this effect is only implemented on the routes that are released after TSW4 and Training Center.
Good to know. So your Train Sim World 3 routes will not have this, unfortunately. I don't know if it's possible for them to go back and change that or improve it with older routes. Even if routes are upgraded to the new TOD 4 lighting and get the volumetric fog, I don't know if this is something that they can add to that as well or not, but I hope in the future it is.
Rain window effects. We listened to your feedback on our rain on windscreen graphics and are giving them a glorious update. We just know you'll be praying for rain after release. Technical artist Paul is back for more information on this. What's new with this change? Paul, the new weather effects on windscreens and other train windows are now much more detailed and have a higher definition. In the previous version it was very washed out, stutter and visibly low resolution. All droplets moved at the same speed and it looked very synthetic overall. Now they show discernible droplets and snowflakes that land on the window, and moving droplets show streaks trailing behind them. The animation is also much smoother and natural. Overall, it's much less looking like jelly.
That's good. And if I remember correctly in the live stream, I believe they even said like the rain on the window effects and animations and stuff where it's 60 frames a second now. So a lot smoother and natural like they have here. Looking like jelly, that's definitely a really good comparison, but we actually have a little video clip for this, and you can even see the new mini HUD, the speed limit, the gradient change, the little bar next to the times, and also no more counting down the distances. It appears as a linear line, which I do like more than how we had it previously. It would be cool if they also showed the distance along with the linear line, but I would honestly just rather have the linear line. That way I can be actually looking out of the window to know when I should be slowing down versus making judgment calls based on numbers, kind of takes me out of the game. But look at that, so much better, so much better. And unfortunately with this one, guys, it's also going to be implemented on routes released with or after Train Sim World 4 and Training Center as well, just like with the overhead catenary improvements. So I don't think they're going to be able to go back and kind of, improve older routes with this sort of thing, but I hope that that changes. So we have an update to characters and new dioramas. They talked about this on the stream as well, and I was kind of just like, what? This one is really neat, guys.
Character updates and new dioramas. It's time we gave our lovely characters of Train Sim World more ways for them to express themselves, so we built new dioramas for them to appear in across the world, such as queues for a lunchtime snack, and sitting around enjoying a coffee in groups. These events should respect normal times too, so don't expect to find them being social into the late hours of the evening.
That is really cool. We need more realism with the characters. They've got suitcases now, guys, and also, apparently Matt says when they start walking, they start pulling the suitcase behind them. That is really cool. We've been needing these things for a while. Really. Standing in lines to get food, sitting and having coffee, looking on the phone, talking on the phone, holding the coffee while standing up, walking with briefcases and such, all of these things are coming as improvements.
You will also notice new handheld items, such as luggage, briefcases, coffee cups, and phones, all to help build the immersion of the world in different ways.
Now what I want to know is, will this affect all routes, even some of the older Train Sim World 3 or Train Sim World 2 routes? Because they didn't specify Train Sim World 4 only, I'm assuming that we will see these changes across all routes. I hope that truly is the case. All right. Timetable update, guys.
New Kolnahan timetable. Here's something we've been keeping in our back pockets. We've been upgrading the Kolnahan timetable as well as New York Trenton. With all the details, here's Joe. Joe, a new timetable has been created from scratch for the Kolnahan route. I've wanted to make a new timetable for this route since London to Brighton. An opportunity came up with the new Journeys pack, NJP, but what I had planned was much bigger than that. A few service patterns created for the NJP have been taken across, which are S6, S11, S12, RE8 and RB27. These have been extended into the next morning based on the longer timetable tech first used on KWG. Everything else is brand new. S19, 1 rupee, RE9, to name a few. There's also a bunch of new freight services based on rail life timings/destinations, like what you might be used to on Bureau, as well as a lot of new AI for Köln HBF, Horum, Düren and Aachen HBF, which make the route seem very busy, especially in Köln. We can confirm these will be a post-release update, and will update you of our progress with screenshots in future roadmaps.
So this will not be coming on launch for Train Sim World 4, post-release update sometime in the future, but there was an update for New York to Trenton. I actually have a whole video on this bit. Yeah, I talked for, what was it, 15 to 20 minutes? No, I talked for 13 minutes and 48 seconds about this little bit on a video that I have, Trains in World 4, plus Northeast Corridor, huge update. So make sure you check that out. That video is all about this bit here with all of the screenshots. I love how we've got freight crossing over here now. A lot is going to be going on, and I just can't wait to not just play the new timetable, but also use free roam in conjunction with the new timetable, because they talk in this about how, you know, some of this freight, or most of the freight actually, I think is not playable because of safety systems and signaling and all of that stuff. But I just realized with free roam, I can make my own freight playable and drive it how I wish in conjunction with the timetable. So it's like, now there are more options for possibilities with gameplay, you know, more replay value that I am personally super excited about. So now moving on to the next section, because I've already had a video about the Northeast Quarter section, so I'm not even going to read through all of that and talk more about that. That is all I'm talking about in this video for that one. All right, we have Southeastern high-speed improvements. Ooh, my ears just perked up for this one. Let's see what's changing here.
Southeastern high-speed route improvements. With the release of the Class 700 earlier this year, we wanted to make some improvements to the route to coincide with it. With the details, here's James Lewis. JL, hello everyone. James here, and while I've been busy working with and enjoying Train Sim World 4, I'm also glad to be able to take some time to talk Southeastern high speed, like I need much excuse, but it's good to have one. If you cast your minds back to the June and July roadmaps before the Class 700/0 released, we announced that we were working with one of our testers and trainee editor users, Daisy, to add the Thameslink specific stop markers onto the route. However, as I have hinted here and there, that is not all. As a mini passion project between myself and Daisy, we devised a list of other achievable scenery improvements which we wanted to see, and now we can reveal that, alongside the new markers, you can expect to find the following: Bonus, updates to Southeastern High-Speed in Train Sim World 4. Here are the changes. Added Thameslink stopping boards at stations between Rainham and Dartford. Corrected/added/improved the location/quality of other conventional stopping boards. Added DILO monitors where they were missing. Added CIS boards to Rainham Platform 0. Improved lighting at Gillingham and Ashford depots as well as Faversham sidings. Added extra scenery items at Ashford Depot including depot protection system lights. Added new clock assets to Gillingham Station, Depot and Dartford sidings. Improved the look of Northfleet Station platforms and fencing. Added missing foliage at Springhead Junction where HS1 joins the North Kent line. Added missing feeder substation at Springhead Junction. Added lighting and some gantry assets around Hoo Junction and staff halts. Fixed instances of passengers not boarding and alighting trains at Higham Station. Added missing 15 and 20 miles per hour speed boards on Rochester Bridge Junction. Replaced container crates near Purfleet on HS1 with buses as per reality. Replaced high-rise building at HS1 Medway Viaduct with a more reasonable alternative. Fixed a misplaced asset which was covering tracks outside Ashford. Removed invisible walls which blocked on-foot Ashford Depot movement. Added a prompt to bypass and access the fenced-off footbridge at Ashford. Plus some all-new Easter eggs. Feline the detail, can you find Gandalf, Tripod, Daisy and Phoebe. Embark on some valley viewfinding to pass the time. Master the meta, it's train simception.
Yeah, they showed some cats on the preview stream. Apparently a cat or some cats were added or something.
Please note, stopping board changes are visual only and may not represent where the timetable instructions tell you to stop, and markers are placed based on where research/knowledge shows them to be from the past few years. More recent changes like the moved Thameslink board at Strood Platform 2 is not represented. JL, I wasn't just going to list them out without giving you some eye candy, but I think I'd be put in bandwidth jail if I shoved all of this in using screenshots. So, we have something even better. It's slideshow time.
Okay, definitely right. Let's take the slideshow. 3 minutes, guys. Southeastern High Speed scenery updates. Oh, I love that shot too. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh my God, the music. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really hope that the soundtrack comes with the deluxe edition on Steam and not the special edition, because I'm not getting the special edition. I'm getting the deluxe. I really hope we get the soundtrack with that because this is beautiful. Like, why is Dovetail making me want to cry? Like, this is a train simulator. We're supposed to be having fun. Like, why does this sound so sad? Okay, now it doesn't sound sad. It sounds happy now. New clock assets? Oh, this is nice. Okay. Wow. Yeah, this is great, guys. These are great improvements. Wow. I hint at some of the Easter eggs. Oh my gosh. Oh, so cute. Did they use the depth of field slider on these cats? All right, guys, that's exciting. I'm assuming yet once again, you probably won't get these updates if you're running Southeastern High Speed on Train Sim World 3. You're gonna have to get the Train Sim World 4 to get these updates, which once again, I'm not surprised. Kinda sad, yes, but I'm not surprised. All right, moving on. Wow. Yeah, we can confirm these will be available on Train Sim World 4 for all players on launch day. So you're not gonna get these if you're playing it on Train Sim World 3. You gotta upgrade to 4, pay for another route or pay for something else to get the updates. I don't like that they do this. I will say, I feel like that is very scammy. It's giving scam behavior. It kinda is in a way. It really is a joke. I don't know why they do that. Well, I do know why they do that, because they're gonna get more money out of you that way, you know? All right, let's just keep going.
Nittertalben bonus content. Before we let James go, he's also going to give a first look at a little something you can look forward to coming to everyone's favorite branch line, Nittertalben, in Train Sim World 4. JL wasn't even halfway out the door before being called back, but it's worth it. To the eagle-eyed of you who already spotted the little tease for a few seconds in Dovetail Direct, well done. But for those that didn't, let's talk DB BR628. Set in the 1990s, the Nittertalben route comes with the BR628 in its contemporary white and mint livery, which was perfect for that route, and of course Link Rainstreck, which released around the same time. However, German, and now Austrian, routes are also set in the modern day, and wouldn't it be perfect if we had a DB Regio Red BR628 for them? Well, thanks to the team at TSG, we do. Coming as a free bonus within Nittertalben, the modern condition DB BR628. Mint has been painted over with red and subtle details have been changed inside and out to reflect the real-life progression of these units through the years. We will share more about it in due course, but we feel it will come in handy for your modern free roaming and scenario planning adventures, and of course, it's bound to turn up in a layer or two at some point. We can confirm this bonus livery will be available in Train Sim World 4 for all Nittertalben owners on launch day.
Yet once again, they're doing the same thing here. If you play this route on Train Sim World 3, which I believe this was a Train Sim World 3 initially, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but I don't think I'm wrong. I think this was a Train Sim World 3 route. You're not going to get this update unless you upgraded Train Sim World 4 in some way, shape, or form. This is their way of getting money out of everyone, because they probably know that when they release these routes individually, you know, as a part of the regular game itself, not everyone is buying the routes. People are really only buying the routes that are either local to them or routes that they really care for or really want. But when you have bundles like this and you have a new game, I feel like everyone's buying them because they're including so many of these updates behind a paywall. So it's like, we want to buy the deluxe editions. We want to get all the routes. We want to, you know, get all the stuff. And it sucks, but it makes sense from a marketing standpoint. And I hate that they do this, but they do it, and they're going to continue to do it. I don't think this is going to get any better. I think over time, it's probably just going to get worse, honestly. So the mega update for Train Sim World 4 launch, lots of things here. Everything listed are existing routes we already have now. I'm pretty sure all of these we've talked about during this video. They do write there are many other smaller improvements we'll provide more information for at the time, and these updates will be released for Train Sim World 4 only, with the exception of the Trenton timetable, for which our intention is to release at a later date. We don't know when that date is, but they promised they would come to Train Sim World 3 before 4 was announced, so they kind of have to give it to Train Sim World 3. But of course, they're giving it to Train Sim World 4 on launch day, again, as what is most likely another incentive to get you to buy and upgrade to the next thing. You know, they're going to address some issues and achievements with tutorials on Train Sim World 3. These will be posted to Train Sim 4 as well. So I guess there are some patches coming for Train Sim World 3, but I don't know how many are left, but really not too much information on them, because just like with what happened when they went up to Train Sim World 3, now they're going to Train Sim World 4, it seems like they usually just like to abandon everything in the past. They just pretend it doesn't exist, and I feel like that's going to end up happening here yet once again. All right, partner program check-in.
As well as the exciting news Just Train's Blackpool Preston Ormskirk route is coming soon, here's a quick update on our other partner developers. As you can see, we've added a few new pieces of content for Rivet Games onto the Train Sim World 4 roadmap, as well as a new logo from a developer who is new to Train Sim World. We'll update you in future roadmaps what they're working on. Our remaining partners, ATS, Union Workshop, TSG, continue to work on their projects, but we don't have a timeline for their content at this stage.
Upcoming features and improvements.
Formation Designer will not be available on the release day for Train Sim World 4 and will come in a future update. Suspension improvements will be available for the Class 323 on Train Sim World 4's launch, which is available to everyone via the training center, with additional trains to receive the improvements in a future update. We'll provide more accurate information on timelines when we can, but for now enjoy these developer deep dives that share more information on what you can expect.
So they talked about Formation Designer a little bit on stream. This is not coming for Train Sim World 4 release, but it is coming in the future, and I even believe I saw a comment or two on one of my previous videos about this as well. So that is a really exciting thing to look forward to. So we have a little bit on suspension improvements for Train Sim World 4 and exactly what this could mean.
Suspension improvements. Only swaying side to side is so TSW3. Within Train Sim World 4, we've focused on improving some of the vertical sensations caused by the train suspension. Sean Bailey, our physics software engineer, has the details. What changes have we made to the suspension in TSW4? SB, the main focus of the updated suspension has been on a more physically accurate spring model with a much smoother and more controlled damping effect. This overall allows for a much bouncier vehicle with less jittering that was present on some vehicles before. There has also been a lot of work into allowing for a large amount of flexibility in the spring, requiring work into balancing the vehicle correctly regardless of the spring strengths or the axle and bogie positions.
This sounds great, but I just feel like we're not really gonna notice these changes that much. I feel like these are just more like fine-tuning numbers and stuff in the code of the game more than actually seeing major improvements. I feel like this really won't seem like much in the game. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Let me keep listening.
To take advantage of these improvements, slight dips in the track at rail gaps and junctions have been added. These will give the player a slight jolt when traveling over, similar to the real-life effect. The improved springs allow for these to be implemented without throwing the vehicle off the track. There have also been some minor changes to the unevenness of the track to allow for variations at different scales, distances.
Okay, never mind. I take that back. That is actually going to be exciting. Slight dips in the track at rails have been added. So you're gonna get a slight jolt when traveling over them. Okay, oh, more added realism. Okay, let's go, I'll take it. Give me all the realism, please.
Why is this important for the player? When playing TSW, it is important that the player feels like they are in a real-life train or watching one from the platform. The improved suspension steps the simulation in this direction, allowing for better immersion. It also brings more life into the vehicles, with the vehicle body, bogie, and axles have a more dynamic behavior and feeling a bit bouncier than before. There will be lots of effects that players will be able to observe that have their own real-life counterparts, including body roll, the vehicle tilting slightly when traveling around a curve, vertical bouncing, nose dips/rises during braking/acceleration, body movement during adding/removing weight.
I feel like we already have those things, but assuming that these are just improvements on them.
What difference will a player feel when operating a train in TSW4? Overall, the player will feel a bouncier and more dynamic ride while operating the trains. How much so will depend on the vehicle being driven. Many have bogies attached to reduce the effect of variations in the track on the driver and passengers, and this will be the same in TSW. However, other vehicles have directly connected axles which results in a much bumpier ride, both in real life and in TSW. What has been the most challenging part of developing the feature? TSW has a very wide range of locos that have large array of variations, all of which need to be accounted for when developing and tweaking the suspension. This is then amplified by the very delicate nature of physics engines in games and the need for a solution that works for every vehicle, all of which are very complex with numerous moving parts that need to be working in tandem with each other. Tuning these vehicles can also be very challenging. It is not enough to simply take the parameters that from the real-life vehicle, as experiencing the bump and variations through physical touch is very different to watching it through a screen. So very careful consideration to the precise tuning of the vehicles is needed to make it feel as if the player was actually there.
Interesting. Okay. I'm curious. I want to see what this is like, and I'm sure that we will see some of these improvements with some of the streams, the preview streams that are coming up in the near future. So they talked about Formation Designer in the live stream, but of course we have a pretty big bit about that here to wrap up part 1 of Roadmap.
Formation Designer. The term formation, otherwise known as consists, refers to a sequence of rail vehicles that make up a train, so the exact freight cars or coaches, the locomotives and what order they're in. Let's hand over to Matt Pedalston to talk more on this new feature coming to Train Sim World 4, which we'll be bringing you after release. What is Formation Designer? MP. The term formation refers to a sequence of rail vehicles that make up a train, so the exact freight cars or coaches, the locomotives, what order they're in, if they've got loads in them and so forth. Formation Designer is a tool that allows you to create these formations. Where can players use their new formations? Formation Designer will let you make formations that you can use in both the Scenario Planner and Free Roam modes, so you can mix and match stock from all your library of trains and then use it to create even more varied and interesting content.
This makes me even more excited, and this kind of takes me back to that little bit that I was telling you about earlier with Free Roam mode that's incorporated in Timetable mode or Service mode. So if I want a 1 mile long freight train, can I actually customize exactly what that consists of and then use that to spawn it into service mode using the free roam tools? I'm assuming I'm going to be able to do that given I have enough space to do it, because I'm assuming when you're putting formations and consists in to the world and you're spawning them, whether you're in free roam mode or you're doing it with the free roam tools in service mode, you're gonna have to make sure you have enough space on that selected tracker in that signal block to do it, or the game won't let you. That's what I'm assuming, but it's sounding like I'm gonna have that freedom and capability, which is making me so excited.
Are there any limits to what players can make? Because Train Sim World creates a world of realistic physics and train behaviors, your formations will largely be held to the same constraints. You can't mismatch couplings, you can't mismatch braking systems, and even the electric connectivity used down the train is factored into the simulation. If any of these things don't match, you will end up with a train that simply won't work in various ways, often that you can't get it moving. To avoid confusion, the designer understands what the compatibility of vehicles is and will only offer options that will work as you build the formation out.
Okay, I like that. So I'm assuming that if something isn't compatible or rail cars aren't compatible with each other, the formation designer won't let you do it then, which I guess I like. That way you don't make all these formations, you go in the game and then nothing works. So I'm trying to figure out if that's going to be the case or if that's not going to happen because the formation designer won't let you do that. I still wouldn't mind though having the capability to make these contests that maybe are not compatible to place down for screenshot purposes, you know, with no intent of actually driving. Maybe there could be like a setting that you could turn on and off that lets you do that instead of the formation creator or formation designer or whatever it's called, you know, telling you no, you can't do that instead.
Unfortunately, an off-the-rails equivalent isn't really possible in this kind of system because it would essentially mean replacing the entire physics model with a very basic generic one, and we definitely don't see that as something players would prefer.
And I agree.
What has been the most challenging part of developing the feature? It's a big system to build, understanding the complexities of which vehicles can work together and then creating a user interface to manage a relatively complex task of adding, moving, and rearranging vehicles, understanding cargo loads and even allowing for formations to contain other formations. There's a lot going on in this tool and it unlocks a lot of freedom for players to really get the most out of their collection.
I really like this. This is gonna be exciting. Obviously, we talked about this a minute ago, not coming right away, but coming in a future update. So that's really exciting. So we have that to look forward to as well, and we'll probably learn more about that and see more about that in future articles and future streams. But that is it. There is a part 2 to this. This was not all, and I'm sure this video is going to be very, very, very long. But for those of you that didn't want to read this or didn't get a chance to check this out, this video, of course, was just for you. And I haven't read this until now as well. But also, I really like this screenshot. Oh my gosh, is this using the depth of field slider? I'm assuming so. That's it, guys. Share your thoughts below, your questions, concerns. I'm gonna get part 2 up as soon as possible. I can't wait to dive into that. I wonder what that's gonna consist of. If most of this was kind of just on roots and things we kind of already knew from previous content, I feel like part 2 is definitely gonna have a lot more new information than this. But I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Take care, so long, and happy rail simming.